Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to be unpacking Jess Kaufman's spiritual text, Insight. It lays out a really fascinating and, for a lot of people, a pretty challenging framework for not just managing, but completely overcoming suffering.
So, the book kicks things off with a question that I think hits home for pretty much everyone. I mean, we all want to be happy, don't we? So why does that genuine, lasting happiness feel so out of reach? Like you're constantly taking one step forward and two steps back?
Well, according to Kaufman, the whole problem is kind of like a case of mistaken identity. We're convinced happiness is out there, in what we can see, hear, taste, and touch. We've made our five senses the ultimate source of our security. But the book argues that's exactly why we always feel like something's missing.
All right, so let's get into the book's diagnosis of our whole situation. And it paints a picture of the human condition as being, well, trapped. Trapped in this self-perpetuating cycle. You can almost think of it like a spiritual hamster wheel, where we're just running and running but not really getting anywhere.
In this cycle, it has a name, samsara. Just picture it like this. We're constantly bouncing around like a pinball, right? We're either chasing after things we like or running away from things we don't. It's this nonstop hunt for the next good feeling, always thinking, okay, this is going to be the one that finally makes me happy for good.
And here's where it gets really interesting, because this idea completely reframes, well, our entire lives. The book basically says that almost everything we go after, our careers, our relationships, even those amazing beach vacations, they're all just different strategies in this endless search for a pleasant feeling. It's all part of the exact same game.
Okay, so if samsara is the cycle we're stuck in, you've got to ask, what's the engine keeping the whole thing going? What keeps those wheels turning? Well, the book points to this really fundamental universal law, and it calls it karma.
Now, Insight talks about karma in a super straightforward way. This isn't about some kind of cosmic scoreboard, rewards and punishments, and it is definitely not fate. It's just action, a direct and totally impersonal law of cause and effect. What we do, say, and think creates the world we experience. Simple as that.
And this is the feedback loop that keeps us trapped, you see? Our actions lead to a result. It's either going to be pleasant or painful. And that feeling, that experience, then triggers our next action, which of course creates a new result. And you can see how it just goes on and on and on. That's what powers the whole cycle.
And to really hammer this point home, the author makes a pretty bold claim. This law, it's absolute. It's not personal. Nobody gets a pass. It's just a fundamental principle of how reality works. And it applies to literally everyone and everything, from the smallest bug to the most powerful gods.
Okay, so if we're all stuck in this massive, inescapable karmic cycle, the big question is, how on earth do we get out? The book's answer is, surprisingly simple on the surface, but it's also incredibly deep, and it's a practice called mindfulness.
But, and this is a really big but, we have to be super clear here. The book draws this huge line in the sand between the kind of mindfulness that's popular today, the wellness trend stuff to help us de-stress, and what it was originally all about. This isn't just about managing the symptoms of suffering, it's about pulling the whole problem out by the roots. For good.
So here's the key takeaway. True mindfulness, when you're really doing it, it's like flipping on a light switch in a pitch-black room. The moment that light of awareness is on, all those negative states, anger, greed, fear, they just can't be there. They're gone. They can't coexist with that light.
All right, so where is all this heading? Where does this path of mindfulness actually lead? Well, the book shows how it's all building towards the ultimate goal. And we're not just talking about feeling a bit better. We're talking about a state of total, absolute, unconditional freedom. And that ultimate destination has a name: Nirvana. Now, Insight is really clear that this isn't some place you go, like a heaven. It's a state of being that you wake up to. It's the end of the line for the karmic cycle. The suffering just stops. And not just for a bit, forever. So how does that even happen? The book says it comes from this totally radical shift in how you see everything. It's when you realize, not just as an idea, but as a direct experience, that the solid, separate me you've always thought you were, the one who's suffering, the one who wants things, it's not as solid and real as it seems. It's actually more like a character you're playing in a dream.
And that brings us to the final, really powerful question the book leaves us with. Think about it. We spend our whole lives trying to get more stuff, more experiences, more pleasure, all chasing this idea of happiness. But what if? What if real, lasting freedom isn't about getting more of anything? What if it's about finally understanding what it is we can let go of?